As President Biden was abroad trying to restore America's relationship with key allies, we found out about yet another bombshell scandal from the Trump era in which Trump's Justice Department spied on Democratic lawmakers who were investigating him during the Russia probe. For more on this, it's time for a closer look. President Biden is currently abroad for his first major international trip, meeting with leaders of the G7 and NATO, and trying to reassure allies that America is back after 4 years of erratic leadership from a guy who once literally shoved his way past a bunch of world leaders at a NATO summit like a maid of honor trying to catch the bouquet at a wedding. You've already been married twice, Becky. I need this. Because some of us are hard to love, Becky. Compare that to Biden, who was amicably chatting it up with world leaders, and at one case even walked behind the rest of the group like a grandpa at Disney World. You guys go ahead. I'm going to ride the tram back and forth to the parking lot until you're done. I like looking at the cars. That's my Epcot. Biden's message at these meetings has been simple. America's back. You know, like the McRib. America's back for a limited time only. Offer not valid in Florida. Although, if I were a foreign leader, I would take it with a grain of salt. I mean, yes, Biden is president now, but America definitely has a split personality, and who knows how long this one's going to last. If Dr. Jekyll said, "I'm back," it would be fair to ask if he threw away the serum that turned him into Mr. Hyde, and if he responded, "The important thing is I'm back, relax." I'm not sure you would relax. Still, Biden's message seems to be working. French President Emmanuel Macron, for example, seemed very excited to have an American president willing to work with European allies to solve common problems.
We have to deal with this pandemic and the COVID-19. We have to face a lot of challenges, a lot of crises, climate change, and for all these issues, what we need is cooperation. And I think it's great to have the U.S. president part of the club and very willing to cooperate. And I think that what you demonstrate is that leadership is partnership.
You guys, let's go. You guys, let's go. Thank you. Guys, let's go. Thank you. Let's go.
Yeah, definitely.
It's nice to hear some optimism for a change. Usually when you hear a French guy say America is back, it's because he's watching someone take a picture of the Mona Lisa with an iPad. Oh, great, America is back with their Crocs and their Bart Simpson t-shirts. It is eyes that say, "Ah, caramba to this." Also, watching those two pal around must be a real burn for Trump. He was so desperate to be friends with Macron. He shook his hand like he was trying to get a candy machine to drop his payday bar and held on longer than someone falling out of a helicopter. And then, of course, there was the time Trump was so nervous to be with Macron, he brushed dandruff off his shoulder. "You have a booger in your nose. Mind if I get that for you? Garçon, can you bring us your smallest spoon?" Ugh, America's back. You do the Bartman. That said, Biden's trip has had its awkward moments, too. For one, there was that awkward socially distanced picture of the G7 leaders where they look like Street Fighter characters no one wants to pick. They should all be doing that video game character thing where they bounce in place in their signature pose. Biden just standing there with his dukes up, and every time you hover over him, he says his catchphrase, "Come on, man." Then there was an odd moment where a reporter asked Biden about some Trump-era trade policies he hasn't rolled back yet, and Biden, well, he seemed a little irked.
You have often said repeatedly that America is back.
Yes.
At the same time, you've kept in place some Trump-era steel and aluminum sanctions. And I wanted to ask you, when you're having these conversations with European allies who are very concerned about these sanctions, how do you justify that? And what are your plans to
120 days. Give me a break. Need time.
Why does he sound like Superman holding a rod of kryptonite? Need time. Must bring America back. The point is, Biden's trying to leave the Trump era behind on the world stage, even as the GOP tries to keep it alive here at home, either by recommitting themselves to Trumpism or by trying to whitewash the many lies and abuses of power. Trump's former press secretary, Kayleigh McEnany, for example, said this on Sunday.
And then there was the question, will you ever lie to us? And I said without hesitation, no, and I never did. I never lied. I sourced my information, but that will never stop the press from calling you a liar.
Wow, it's impressive to lie about lying. It's like stabbing a witness during your murder trial. We shouldn't care what a proven liar has to say about anything, especially the question of whether she lied or not. I mean, no one asks Vanilla Ice to come up with an original beat anymore. Listening to McEnany explain how she didn't lie is like listening to Ice explain how his song was different from Under Pressure.
Like it goes ding, 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 diggy, ding, ding. Ding, 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 diggy, ding, ding. That's the way theirs goes. Ours goes ding, 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 diggy, ding, ding. Ding, 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 diggy, ding, ding. That little bitty chain. It's not the same.
Yeah, it's not the same. That's how I sound, explaining the difference between my Werner Herzog and Christoph Waltz impression. Except that I'm right. The difference is subtle, but it's there. Werner's like, the clock is ticking, and Christoph's like, yes, the clock is ticking. Look, if you can't hear the difference between German and Austrian, then that's on you. Ding, 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 ding. Now, obviously, we could spend all day laying out McEnany's most egregious lies, like the time she defended Trump's claim that COVID would disappear and described the resurgence of cases as embers, or the time she went on TV with binders full of bull to spread the big lie that there was fraud in the 2020 election. If you ask me, she should be the one doing a weekly digital segment called Corrections, where she has to defend herself from hordes of internet jackals critiquing her every utterance. Oh, and as a reminder, don't miss Corrections. Available every Friday morning. Online Corrections, it's a massive waste of time. McEnany and the rest of the Trump crowd are eager to rewrite the history of the Trump era, whether it's COVID or the 2020 election or the January 6th insurrection, and that's because it's still very much Trump's party. In fact, one thing that's become clear about the post-Trump era is that if the GOP gets their way, there won't be a post-Trump era. The Republican Party remains deeply committed to both the ideology and the cult of personality that is Trumpism. Last week, for example, the number 3 House Republican, Elise Stefanik, who just replaced Liz Cheney after Cheney criticized Trump for inciting an insurrection, posted a photo of herself with Trump and the caption, "Save America." Save America? I wouldn't count on Trump to save a drowning man if he was standing in a lifeboat filled with buoys. They're $100 each or 2 for $200. That's a great deal. What's that? I can't hear you with all that water in your mouth. It's not an encouraging sign for the health of our democracy that GOP's biggest names and rising stars are happily posing for photos with the deeply unpopular autocrat who's still lying about the election and sowed a violent insurrection to stay in power. It's like the captain of your cruise ship posing for a pic with an iceberg in the caption, "Great running into you." And it's not like they're just winking and trying to be subtle about it. The GOP has been explicit that the twice impeached Trump, who never once won the popular vote and continues to be deeply unpopular in polls, is the leader of their party. And they've made it clear they don't want him to go away.
We are a pro-America populist party rooted in conservative principle with Donald Trump as our leader.
It's impossible for this party to move forward without President Trump being its leader.
They look at Donald J. Trump and they look at the millions and millions of people inspired who went to battle fighting alongside President Trump, and they're terrified. And they want him to go away. Let me tell you this right now, Donald J. Trump ain't going anywhere.
Ted Cruz's normal voice is deeply grating, but when he tries to fire up a crowd, it's like watching an accordion player bust out a kazoo. If Ted Cruz had given the speech at the end of Braveheart, the Scottish army would have just laid down their arms and gone home. Oh, I don't care for him at all. It's like that, Lloyd. That's how it's supposed to sound. The Republican Party has made clear that if it gets back into power in 2022 or 2024, they'll follow in Trump's footsteps, which is terrifying and why it's all the more important for us to take a thorough accounting of Trump's many abuses of power. Last week, for example, we learned of yet another shocking scandal. The Trump DOJ sought the private communication records of Democrats who are investigating the president.
This is the headline tonight in the New York Times. Hunting leaks. Trump officials focused on Democrats in Congress, meaning members of Congress who are Democrats. Quote, as the Justice Department investigated who was behind leaks of classified information early in the Trump administration, it took a highly unusual step. Prosecutors subpoenaed Apple, the company Apple, for data from the accounts of at least 2 Democratic members of Congress on the House Intelligence Committee and staffers and family members. One of those family members was a child, a minor. According to committee officials and 2 other people briefed on the inquiry, all told, the records of at least a dozen people tied to the Intelligence Committee were seized in 2017 and early 2018, including the records of Congressman Adam Schiff of California, who was then the top Democrat on the House Intelligence Committee, who is now the chairman of that committee. Prosecutors under the beleaguered Trump Attorney General Jeff Sessions were hunting for the sources behind news media reports about contacts between Trump associates and Russia.
Every time you think we're done with Trump scandals, there's a new bombshell. 40 years from now, I'm going to be sitting at this desk with long gray hair tied back on one of those cool old man buns with cataract glasses and a donut cushion, talking about the latest Trump scandal, like how CNN is reporting that President Trump ordered the Space Force to nuke every dog in the country. And then for the rest of the show, Wally and I will just play backgammon while he holds up a cue card reading, "Is the AC on? I'm boiling." And yet somehow, all of the major Justice Department leaders during Trump's tenure are now claiming they had no idea any of this was happening.
Trump's Department of Justice asked the company for data about Democrats, reporters, and now we have these details about members of his own administration. But the people in charge at the time, Bill Barr, Jeff Sessions, and Rod Rosenstein, all reportedly say they didn't know about it.
Sure, guys, none of you know about it. They're talking about the United States Department of Justice, which they ran, like CVS employees when you ask if they sell Claritin. Oh, man, I've never heard of it. But you work here, right? I mean, maybe. But it says CVS staff on your shirt. Oh, no. That's CV's. It's a barbecue joint downtown at which I also do not work. This is why House Democrats need to start issuing subpoenas and conducting a thorough investigation to find out who knew what and when. I mean, how can it be possible that none of these guys were aware of what was happening? The Justice Department spies on senior House Democrats investigating the president. No one at the top knows about it. These guys are acting like exhausted Park Slope parents who let their kids loose at the playground without supervision. Excuse me, your son just pushed my kid off a swing? Oh, did he? Juniper! Juniper, what do we say about physical aggression? It's a manifestation of our subconscious impulses. Juniper! Juniper, knock it off or I will take you out of this world! So sorry, I should not have had that second matcha latte. And look, Barr can say what he wants, but we have no reason to believe him, given that he's a proven liar who covered up the Mueller report and clearly had something he was trying to hide during this suspicious exchange with then-Senator Kamala Harris in 2019.
Has the president or anyone at the White House ever asked or suggested that you open an investigation of anyone? Yes or no, please, sir?
The president or anybody else?
Seems you would remember something like that and be able to tell us.
Yeah, but I'm trying to grapple with the word suggest. I mean, there have been discussions of matters out there that they have not asked me to open an investigation, but...
Perhaps they've suggested?
I don't know. I wouldn't say suggest.
Hinted?
I don't know.
Inferred? You don't know? Okay.
Based on those answers, he'd make a hell of a CVS employee. When someone hems and haws like that, the answer is yes. If you ask your coworker at 7-Eleven, Brad, did you take the slushy machine? And he says, Mom, I'm trying to grapple with the word take. Then I gotta be honest, even with the employee discount, I'd pass on getting that slushy. Also, you can tell Harris knew something was up. That whole exchange was like one of those viral videos where someone scolds a dog that just tore a sofa to pieces. The Republican Party is not only trying to rewrite the history of the Trump era, they've made it clear that if they make it back into power, they'll repeat it, which is why it's all the more important to hold Trump and his cronies accountable for their many abuses of power. Subpoena them, put them under oath, and grill them in full view of the public. And just to make it clear that they're under pressure, you can always play this during their testimony.
Ding, 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 diggy, ding, ding. Ding, 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 diggy, ding, ding.
Well, that wasn't under pressure. That was Ice Ice Baby. Up. This has been a closer look. God's Love We Deliver cooks and brings over 2 million meals a year to men, women, and children living with HIV/AIDS, cancer, and other serious illnesses, and they need your help now more than ever. If you're watching this online, you can hit the donate button. Stay safe, wear a mask, get vaccinated. We love you.